Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again for another fragrance review, and today I'm going to be talking about a new release from Creed, and that is Viking Cologne. So stay tuned for that. And if you like first impressions, fragrance reviews, cologne comparisons, top 10 lists, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So if you're watching the channel for a while, you know that I do actually really like Creed Viking. It's probably, along with Arolfa, my favorite Creed fragrance. You know, I've often said that if I had a signature scent, this would be it. And I do still really enjoy this one. You know, it's a really nice sort of modern take on a fougere or barbershop fragrance. Has a nice little bit of rose in it, nice mint spiciness. It has a really, really nice effect. So, of course, I was very excited to try out Viking Cologne. I didn't set my expectations too high just because I do know how expectations can ruin things. And plus, I'm not a huge Creed fan again, so I just didn't expect too much from it. But I did get to try it out. I've tried it a few times for a while now. So to get into the review, I'm going to tell you what I think about this fragrance. And first of all, I do want to say, a lot of people are talking about this one as smelling completely different from Viking. And I actually would disagree. Like, to me, it is similar to Aventus Cologne in the way that it has a similar DNA to the original, but does smell quite different. So to me, Aventus Cologne smelled really, really different from Aventus, but there was something sort of in there that was similar. And I find the same thing. I think a lot of the DNA is still there, mostly to me in the opening and the mid, but once this gets to the dry down, it is quite a bit different. Now in the opening, it's quite fresh, so it is, I find the original Viking to be semi-fresh as well. It's not, you know, it is a little bit fresh. This one is even fresher. And one of the things that, to me, this fragrance has that's really, really good, that I don't get so much in the original, is it has this really, really nice orange note. And I actually find the orange note is similar to Aventus Cologne if you've had or smelled that fragrance in a couple of ways. So it smells amazing, really nice, realistic, juicy kind of an orange. And it is more of a somewhat sweet orange. It's not like tart in any way. It's not like a zesty orange peel vibe. It is like more like a fresh, juicy orange. Now, like Aventus Cologne, I also find that it isn't strong enough and it doesn't last long enough. The orange, anyways. It's one of the best parts of the opening, and it isn't, to me, one that sticks around long enough to be to really, really shine. But it is amazing. It does smell really, really good. I would put this up there with Aventus Cologne in respect, because I know I mentioned that in a previous video, you know, it's a great orange note. I agree absolutely, or would rank Viking Cologne similarly. As I mentioned, there is a freshness, and where I find that this one is very similar to the original Viking is that this has pink pepper in it. I do get a nice spicy vibe. And I do get a sort of cooling kind of mint. Now, mint isn't listed, and I don't find this to be anywhere near as minty as Viking. Now, the original Viking, I found that, you know, you had this really nice fiery spiciness, which I think the red is nice for. But it was contrasted by this really sort of cooling, minty vibe. Now, this kind of has something similar, but it's not as extreme. So the spiciness is not as extreme. That pink pepper is not as strong. And likewise, the mintiness in this is toned back a lot. It doesn't really give me that cooling effect, but it does have a little bit of a minty snap to it. But it's nowhere near, again, to the extent of Viking. But it is, in this respect, similar. Now, the other thing I get is I do get the lavender. So to me, it does still come across a little bit like a barbershop fragrance, right? But it's not quite, to me, to the extent or the extreme that the original Viking is. And I also find that one thing that's really missing from this, that I'm a little surprised I'm saying this, there's a rose note in the original Viking Cologne, which was done, or sorry, the original Viking, which was done really, really nicely. And it's not present in the Viking Cologne, which is fine, but it was something that added a nice sort of depth to it. Again, the one thing that really makes this opening stand out a lot is that really nice, fresh vibe. So this one, I think, you know, especially off the opening, is much more suited for summer or spring. Now, when this one dries down, I will say it does start to get a little bit more disappointing to me. I did like the opening. I still do like the opening. But this one has cedar in the base, and I find that, you know, some cedars to me can come across a little bit like a generic perfumey smell. And every time I tried this one out, every time, within about 4 hours or so, I would start to pick up on that sort of generic smell. Which, especially with the price tag that you pay, and being Creed, you know, it's a little bit, to me, too much. It's not as enjoyable. It's not actually enjoyable at all at this point. It's kind of a put off. The first couple hours, you know, 3 to 4 hours of this are really nice. And, you know, if it had a nicer dry down, I would actually potentially really like this one. But this dry down ruins anything to me, for me, that the opening has going for it. It's just too unpleasant or unenjoyable. So again, like some of the fragrances that had this for me was Boys by Killian. I believe it has like Virginia cedar, and that whole fragrance to me, I got a little bit of cola in the opening, but then it just became this very generic perfumey mess. And again, I do get that a little bit with this. So overall, I think it's worth trying. And maybe it's something with my skin composition that makes certain types of cedar sort of go this very generic way on my skin. And maybe you don't get that as much in the dry down. You get more of a woody dry down, which would be actually pretty nice. And I think it would be definitely a more enjoyable fragrance then. But maybe you also really like it anyways. So it's still worth trying out. And if you don't like Viking, you still might like this one. Like I said, it is quite different, although still the same. I still think that DNA is definitely there, especially in the opening. It has that spicy, cooling, fresh vibe that Viking has, and it has it in a similar way. So to me, again, like I said, similar DNA, different execution. And the orange, very good. Now, like I said, seasons, spring, summer, are definitely the best. Personally, I do find the original Viking to be more of a fall, winter. Could still wear it in the spring. Probably could eat. I mean, you could probably wear this year round, but it is one that I find, you know, although it does have some freshness, there is quite a bit of a spiciness, which maybe makes it a little bit more off-putting in the summer, especially in the heat. But in either case, this one, spring, summer, maybe fall. It's a little bit lighter, airier feeling, even though it does have some projection to it. It's not nearly as dense as the original, so it is definitely a lighter cologne type of fragrance, making it a little bit more casual, although until the dry down anyways, it does smell really nice quality. So you could potentially have it as a little bit more of a warm weather kind of more formal occasion. You probably could wear this to work without a real problem. Like I said, because the quality is there, but it is definitely a little bit more of a light-hearted fragrance, in my opinion. Something easy to wear casually, as I find that way, or I feel that way about a lot of fresh fragrances. Longevity on this one is pretty good. It's in that 6 to 8 hour range, and the projection isn't bad either. I would say it's a nice cloud. I've definitely had people comment on it when I'm not that close to them. So it's not something that is a skin scent, and it does project, you know, for a little while. Definitely you get that 2-3 hours, and then it definitely starts to die down a lot, and that's when it really starts to get into the dry down, which, as I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of. So ultimately, you know, I'm just going to close it by saying, still think the original Viking is the one for me. Kind of happy I didn't blind buy it. I was going to blind buy it just because, like I said, this one is such a nice barbershop modern take on that style. If you like those kinds of fragrances, definitely try out the original. Very good. Love the mint in this one. And I love the spiciness. This one, lighter version, a little bit more of that oranginess, and it has that weird cedar dry down. But anyways, worth a try as well, but I would definitely recommend trying this one out before committing to a bottle, unless you feel really, really convinced that you're going to like it and you want to blind buy it. But you know what, guys? That's going to be it for me on this one. Nice to be back, by the way. It's been a little bit of a vacation. As I know I said this in another video. Definitely going to try and churn out some more videos. But it's nice to be back. And as always, Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.